what according to you are the basic pillars of a good diet?
Macronutrients, micronutrients, hydration, and fiber. There are people who are going overboard with protein, especially if you're just going to a gym. Their agenda is to just, sell their 5 kg protein ka dabba to you, and they know nothing about nutrition, perhaps not even the spelling, but they will talk all about protein and give you wrong kind of.
Like, how do people ensure enough fiber?
Fiber is one of the key component of your balanced diet.
We say that fruits are healthy, but fruit juices are not.
It's actually true. Hibiscus, chamomile, all kind of teas have their own benefits and pitfalls. Parle G, hide and seek, Oreos, so बच्चा वही खाएगा ना फिर. The diseases that we used to see 40 plus, we're seeing 14 plus.
Hi, today we have Dr. Nidhi Nigam with us. She is the founder of Nutrify with Nidhi Nigam. With over 12 years of experience across nutrition, health coaching, and weight management, she specializes in nutrigenetics and lifestyle modifications. She has been recognized as an influencer and a TEDx speaker, and she actively helps underprivileged women and children with the right nutrition. Hi, Dr. Nidhi. Welcome to the Orange Club podcast. Okay, Dr. Nidhi. So, to start with, what according to you, and this is a slightly generic question to start with, what according to you are the basic pillars of a good diet?
Okay. So 4 things, and we'll break it down. Macronutrients, micronutrients, hydration, and fiber. That makes it a balanced diet. Okay. Now, when you talk of a macronutrient, this is what you take in larger quantities. Your carbohydrates, protein, and fats. So 3 macronutrients, right? Then you have your micronutrients, which are your vitamins and minerals. And then you have water, which is your hydration, and then your fiber. So each time when you consume a meal, look at the plate and draw that plate in your head as well. Okay. Do you have raw and cooked vegetables? That takes care of your vitamins and minerals and fiber. So your micronutrients are taken care of, your fiber is taken care of. Then you look at another quadrant. Do I have protein? Because that's very important, right? And then you look at your last quadrant, which is your carbohydrate, which can be your roti, rice, potatoes, pastas, sweet potatoes. So that constitutes of your carbs. And then, of course, a glass of water. So that if all your meal constitutes this way, you don't need a dietitian. If you look at our old times, when we had Indian thali, and by any chance, I am not referring to these Rajdhanis and those restaurants who give you 35 dishes. Just the basic Indian thali had everything. And that's your balanced meal. That's all that you need to look at.
Got it. No, that makes a lot of sense. Something I read a while back was there was a long-term study looking at inflammation in people, right, based on the food that they ate, and they found that people, when they ate the food that they had been eating for generations, that led to less inflammation.
True.
Right. This was actually done in Australia on the original people of Australia, and they found that the meats that they had been eating, if they continued eating those, there was less inflammation as opposed to if they started eating different animal meats. Right. So no, that seems to make a lot of sense. I'm going to touch upon a couple of the areas that you talked about. Right. I think each of them has some things, but I have a bunch of questions for you.
Sure.
So we live in a world which has carb fear, right?
Yeah.
We vilify carbs completely,
Yes.
right? They're an essential nutrient. But anytime someone thinks of a weight loss, the first thing they say, okay, low carb, zero carb,
Right.
keto, all of these things, right? Um, what's your view on that, and what are your suggestions from that perspective?
So let's go decade wise. Okay. So each decade, there's a new fear, right? So first it was fat. So everybody said ghee nahi use karna. And that's how, the refined oil started. The early 90s, palm oil. I still remember there used to be a queue to buy palm olein because that was the thing where it will not solidify, and people thought this was the demon. So then it was fat, then sugar, and now carbs. Now, what everybody needs to understand is carbs are very, very important. Okay, so your brain needs carbohydrate, which means it needs glucose for you to be able to focus. It runs on that energy. Now, people have misunderstood and people have given out wrong information. So it's both ways, right? So carbs are bad if you're looking at a pack of biscuits. I have a lot of these youngsters who come to me who stay in a PG and they say, we don't get food, but I'm putting on weight. I'm only eating a pack of biscuit. Those are bad carbs, right? Your polished carbs, which are bad carbs. But the carbs, for example, your boiled potato, sweet potatoes, unpolished rice, whole wheat, millets, all these things are like a non negotiable part of all the cuisines, whether you look at an Italian, where you look at risotto, or you look at whole wheat bread, or you look at our rice or millets, it is a non negotiable part. Otherwise, you're not able to focus, and people don't understand. So you cut down on carbs, you're not able to focus, you feel cranky, and therefore there's a reaction that's happening, and then you reach out to a pack of chocolate or a biscuit because your body needs that sudden
Carbohydrate.
kick. You've brought it down, right? The body does not understand your stupidity.
Right.
And so it'll give you different signals. So then you reach out to chocolate. Now, to satisfy yourself, you will say, oh, I'm not having a milk chocolate, I'm having a dark chocolate. But not realizing that if only you would have had a good portion of rice, I'm not saying overeat, but a good portion of rice or a fulka or a boiled potato, you wouldn't have been here, looking out for that chocolate.
Makes
So
sense.
carbs are absolutely necessary.
I completely agree with you, and no, I think that's a great way to think about it. Is how processed it is,
Yes,
right? As versus unprocessed, right?
absolutely. So if you look at rice now, uh, look back when you were growing up. Uh, we had our grannies cleaning up the dal and rice. That used to be a job in itself. They will sit with the
Yeah.
dal and the rice in a plate and try and clean it. And now the rice that you see in the market sparkles like pearls. There is absolutely no gandagi in it because it's been polished to that extent. In about 1970s, all over India, we had less than 100 rice mills. Today we have 1 million rice
Oh
mills.
wow. Okay.
So that's the amount of polishing. So the rice is devoid of B vitamins, which is what it is supposed to be rich in. So it's devoid of that. It is devoid of fiber. And therefore, when you eat that rice, you overeat because you literally don't have to chew. There's no
Okay.
fiber. Tuck, 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 it goes in.
So just since rice is such an essential part of the Indian diet, if you were, and now that you're saying it, so much of it is polished, what would be your suggestion as what is a good rice to eat, like not a brand or but as a
Yeah, we don't
product?
talk about
Yeah.
brand, but unpolished, hand pounded. So, for
Understood.
example, in Bangalore, we get this rice called Rajmuri rice, which people look down upon. And now, like all the fats, it's also picking up and it's available for 500 a kilo online. And people are ordering in Bombay and in Delhi. And we're lucky in Bangalore, we get it for 60 a kilo, 70 a
Wow.
kilo. So,
Okay.
this was grown in Mysore. And the farmers who could not pay their taxes, they had to give their rice to the king. So this is why it is called a Rajmuri rice. It was the
Wow.
rice of the kings,
Amazing.
right? So
Amazing.
that's the rice. So you need to just go back to your roots.
Mm.
Eat simple stuff. Now you
Yeah.
look at your kolam rice, Sona Masuri rice, and all of that rice. It's totally devoid of fiber, totally devoid of B vitamins. So that is highly processed, highly polished rather.
Wow. That was a very insightful session on carbohydrates. I also learned a few things, to be honest. But what let switching gears a little bit, fat I think is something we'll come to, but protein
Hmm.
is a topic, right? Just like we vilify carbohydrates, we're also in a world which makes protein a hero, right?
Yes.
And there's a lot of talk on how much protein you should eat, what's a good source of protein. Would love to hear your thoughts on that.
So again, yes, we as human beings are chalta firta protein. No denial about that. Okay, so your enzymes, your hormones, your muscles, your bones, your tissues, everything is made up of protein. But suddenly, the fitness industry, like you use the word hero, has made protein look like a hero. And people are going crazy about it. What people need to understand, whether it is the carbohydrate bit or protein or fat, everything is needed and everything is needed in moderation. There are people who are going overboard with protein, especially if you're just going to a gym and their agenda is to just sell their 5 kg protein ka dabba to you, and they know nothing about nutrition, perhaps not even the spelling, but they will talk all about protein and give you wrong kind of food. So I had a patient last week who had very very high albumin, courtesy high protein. So people need to understand that if you're overeating your protein, it is going to get converted into fat, because 1 gram of carbohydrate is 4 calories, 1 gram of protein is also 4 calories. If you're not utilizing it, both of them are going to get converted into fat and get stored in your body. So that's point number one. Number two, if you're overdoing protein, your kidney has to take a toll, because the waste product, the byproduct, the metabolic waste of protein has to be filtered by the kidney, and therefore kidney takes a toll. Now, this thing about 1 gram off per kg your body weight, people need to understand that it is not, if you are 100 kilograms, then you need 100 gram. The protein is calculated on your ideal body weight. So, if your ideal body weight is 60 kilograms, then you need only 60 grams. You don't need 100 grams. And if you look at the recent guidelines that have come from NIN after 10 long years, it says zero point 0.6 to zero point 0.1 gram. For a normal person, if you're into bodybuilding, then it's a different ball game. Now, people have gone ahead and saying, oh, I want to lose weight and therefore I can go up to 2 grams per kg body weight. No, you cannot, you should not. And that is a wrong approach. So, like I told you, divide your plate in 4 sections. And if 25% of your food is coming from protein, you are good. And how do you measure? So, a palm size fish, right? A, a half of chicken breast, a cup of dal, a cup of curd. Learn to measure your food like this,
Right.
and not 100 grams and 120 grams, because you are spoiling your relationship with food.
Mm.
You're always, your mind is always preoccupied with that. So if you go to a party, obviously you're not going to carry your kitchen scale, and your mind is just psyching you out. Am I overeating? Am I undereating? You need to become mindful. You need to eat 1/4 protein in your plate and not go gaga over. I need, because I'm working out, I need a protein shake also. Look at the amount of weight that you're lifting. Do you really need? I see people in the gym working with 2 kilogram ka dumbbell और उनको भी protein का scoop चाहिए. So it's the misinformation. Did you hear your parents or your grandparents taking scoops of protein, or did you see any of those generation people dying because they had protein deficiency? No, we've just changed the whole thing. The whole narrative has been given out in a very wrong manner.
Mm.
You need protein as much as you need carbs, as much as you need fat, just that the percentages are different. Unfortunately, the Indian diets are very carb rich.
Mm.
So, for example, we'll take one chotu sa katori for our dal, but we'll take so much rice. That's also something which is not right. So, you divide equal portions in your plate and you're good to go. So, carbs is important, and so is protein, and so is fat.
Absolutely.
Nothing is, competing with, one is not better than the other. That's
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thank you. I think from a macro perspective, I think that that's a
Yes.
very good way to think about it. Balanced diet,
Yes.
not too much protein. So you said zero point 0.6 to 1 gram per.
Point, yes. So depending on your physical activity.
Mm.
Now, if you have a sedentary job where you're not doing too much, if you're not working out, why do you need protein? You only need for your wear and tear, you only need for your enzymes, you only need for your hormones, which is zero point 0.6 to zero point 0.8 gram per kg body weight is good enough.
Got it.
Okay, if you're working out, let's say 4 to 5 times a week, 1 to max 1.2 gram per kg body weight of protein is more than
Got
enough.
it. And I think the key point there, like you said, is actually the kg is actually on your ideal
On
body
your
weight,
ideal
on
weight,
your target
yes.
body weight, not on your current body weight. I
Correct.
think that's a very key factor for
Yes.
people to keep in mind.
Because otherwise, you'll never be able to lose weight. If your target is to lose weight, because people are saying eat protein if you want to lose weight,
Yeah,
but essentially you're overeating,
yeah,
and therefore you will not lose weight.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the whole. I mean, it's a vicious cycle, right?
yeah.
So people need to. I think this is the time when we need to unlearn a lot of myths.
Hmm. Yeah.
I think social media happened and a lot of confusion happened, and that's what we're all dealing with right
Yeah, we actually have a section later where we talk about some of the topics on that are so trending on social media.
now.
So we'd love to get your thoughts on that as
Sure.
well, right? No, this is very good from a macro perspective. And micro, like you said, are basically vitamins and minerals,
True.
right? And then fiber is actually something that's not talked about that much.
Right.
What's your take on it? Like, how do people ensure enough fiber?
So fiber, like I said, fiber is one of the key component of your balanced diet. Okay, for your gut health. So the whole world keeps talking about probiotic, right? So probiotic is what? It's a living bacteria. आपको और मेरे को खाना नहीं मिलेगा तो हम भी मरेंगे ना after a point. So prebiotic, which is nothing but your fiber, is the food for probiotic. So therefore, if you don't have enough fiber, your good bacteria will die. So your gut health gets impacted. And therefore, your overall health is imbalanced. Okay. So from that perspective, it's very, very important. For your bowel movement, it's very important. For your lipid profile, now when you take soluble fiber in the form of oats, in the form of dal, so we have two kinds of fiber, insoluble and soluble. Okay. Now, insoluble fiber creates bulk and therefore helps you defecate. And the soluble fiber forms a sort of a gel inside your system and attracts all your, let's say, triglycerides and cholesterol and throws it out.
Hmm.
So both are equally important. Okay. 25 to 30 gram is your target on an average. But a normal Indian who's a lot into eating out or eating on the go consumes no more than 8 to 10 grams of fiber.
Wow. Okay.
And therefore, then you take laxatives. Therefore, you go visit a gastro because you're not able to poop. So, where do you get your fiber from? It's very easy to get your fibers. So, dals are a very good source. Then there is salad. So, if you eat 4 colors of salad, just your basic salad, let's say you generally have cucumber around the year, right? So, a medium sized cucumber, a tomato, onion, radish, carrot, zucchini, bell pepper, capsicum, whatever you like, you get about 1/3 of your fiber from there. And then you eat a sabzi, which can be any seasonal sabzi. You get your fiber.
Hmm.
If you are taking whole wheat atta, not the processed atta, if you're taking the whole wheat atta or the millet, you're getting fiber rich diet. So if you add fiber, your gut is happy and half of your issues are taken care of. Fiber is that important. But you know हमारे संग problem क्या है? And this is a global thing, not only India. मैं इंडिया को इतना बदनाम नहीं करूँगी. That you know, when we get something naturally, we don't pay any attention. लेकिन फिर जब फाइबर स्टिक निकाल देती है कोई कंपनी तो हम बड़ी खुशी खुशी ले लेते हैं वो जाके राइट सो नाउ देर आर कंपनीज विच आर सेलिंग दीज फाइबर स्टिक्स फाइबर शॉट्स फाइबर का पैक आप खोलिए और खा लीजिए हम खीरा नहीं खा सकते हैं लेकिन हम वो पैकेट खा सकते हैं एंड वी पेइंग लाइक 10 times more than a cucumber.
Hmm.
So if you eat, again, going back to the 4 portions, you will get your fiber,
Got it. Got
right?
it.
And the only thing is, and this is specific for meat eaters, Meat has zero fiber
Mm.
and zero carbs. So if you're heavily into meat, then it's even more important that you focus on vegetables. And the way that you should eat food is to finish your salad first. So, two things will happen. Three things rather. One, you will get your fiber. Two, you will not overeat. Three, your blood sugar spike will not happen because fiber has a capacity to sort of line your digestive system. And therefore, because you've lined it, your blood sugar release and insulin release will be very steady. So you will not have those energy peaks and valleys, energy crashes where you
Mm.
need that chocolate and all of that. So just by eating a salad, you can capitalize on so many things. So that's how your fiber is taken care of.
When as I'm talking to you, it's so clear that that eating a balanced diet, eating food that's easily available to everyone is really the key to to a
Absolutely.
good diet and to good
Yes.
health.
Yes.
um but no, it's always good to be reminded of the basics.
I know. So I still remember while I grew up in Delhi, and there's this very famous market, Modern Bazaar, in PVR, the first PVR of India, right? And this used to be an upmarket thing. And I remember I was in first year of my graduation, and I brought broccoli from there. Broccoli was still a new thing for India. And I got it home, and mom was seeing, and one of the neighbor came and said, "ये हरी गोभी क्यों लेकर आई है?"
Hmm.
And but today we swear by broccoli, not realizing that our own cauliflower also has good quality. I'm not saying don't consume broccoli,
Yeah.
but don't look down upon your cauliflower and your cabbage. And people say Brussels sprout khalo, cabbage bhi khalo yaar.
Yeah.
So make a basic mix. And therefore, my focus is always to work with these underprivileged people. Because somewhere उन लोगों को ऐसा लगने लगा है, let's look at domestic help. When they come to our houses and when they see these bell peppers and broccolis and zucchinis, इन्हें लगता है इनको तो कुछ खाने को ही नहीं मिल रहा है, इनके बेचारों को बच्चों को कुछ खाने को ही नहीं मिल रहा है. And then they also try and aim for those things.
Mm.
Right? So which is why it's very important to create awareness कि जो अपना local खाना है वो भी is equally good. And therefore, people who are working or people who can afford should also have a mix of both.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the whole idea.
No, super. I 100% agree with that. I think now that we've covered some of the basics on nutrition, uh, I would love to talk a little bit about some of the um, what are the impacts of what we're seeing today, right? We talked about social media, so maybe we can touch a little bit upon that. But on social media, there are a lot of trending topics. We'll quickly run through some of these, right? For example, we say that fruits are healthy, but fruit juices are not. This is a bit of a rapid fire section. So, what's your take on it?
It's actually true. ठीक है? So the moment you juice a fruit, fiber गया, and the moment it comes in contact with the juicer blade or mixer blade, the vitamins are very, very perishable. Vitamin C तो touch होते ही चला जाता है. When you cut a tomato or you cut a lemon, 50% of vitamin C is gone.
Wow. Okay.
So therefore, when you're juicing it, it's actually gone. So आपका fiber गया, आपके vitamins गए. Now what happens is when it's a juice, I'm saying without sugar, I'm not even adding sugar, but it's a fructose overload ना. अगर आप ऑरेंज खा रहे हो तो एक खाओगे और मे बी दो. आप जूस बना रहे हो तो कितने 5 तो लोगे ऑरेंजेस.
Wow.
And therefore there's a fructose overload. So it is actually true. A can of Coke and a can of let's say a Real or Tropicana or any fruit juice and a homemade fruit juice, they're all equal.
Oh my God,
They're
that
all equal.
is
So don't try to be happy saying मैं तो घर का जूस पी रहा हूँ
right.
या फिर मैंने उसको बोला भैया शुगर मत डालना because
Yeah,
there
yeah.
is fructose overload and that impacts your liver because fructose is processed directly by your liver and therefore there's overload on your liver
Oh
also.
my. Okay.
So eat a fruit.
Got it. Got it. The other one that people talk about, you should not have tea or coffee first thing in the morning. Any thoughts on that?
Okay, so what happens? You finish your dinner by let's say 8, 8:39, and then you haven't eaten anything. So your digestive tract is empty. Now, these are stimulants, number one. Number two, they cause ulcer. So, if you're having once in a while is fine, but over a period of time, it would cause ulcers. And therefore, it's a good idea first to why do you brush your teeth as soon as you wake up? For your oral health. So, similarly, if you have a glass of lemon water or a warm water or a infused water, you are taking care of your organ health. So, when you're sleeping, there's a lot of work that the body is doing, right? A lot of metabolic processes are doing and going on, and therefore there's a lot of metabolic waste, toxins. So
Hmm.
when you drink that water, it gets flushed out. Whereas if you drink tea or coffee, it further dehydrates it, and the toxins stay back. So it's a good idea to begin your day with a glass of water. Now, this can be controversial. There's one group of people who says fat first, which is, of course, ghee and coconut oil is another extreme, but some nuts. And then some people say fructose, which is can be apple or banana or whatever. I would say eat anything that goes with your routine. Can be just 5 almonds, can be a couple of walnuts or a fruit, whatever you
Hmm.
like. And then after 10 minutes, enjoy your tea coffee,
Got it. Got it.
but not an empty stomach. More than anything else, one, it will dehydrate you, and two, it may cause ulcers, especially for males. Males are more prone to cancer ulcers because of the amount of stress they carry.
Understood. Understood.
So that's why.
Right. Pulling on that caffeine thread. So one is morning, which we talked about. What about evening? So there's data or views suggesting that you should stop having caffeine 6 to 8 hours before bed.
Very, very individualistic. आप मुझे कॉफ़ी पिला दो, चाय पिला दो और 15 मिनट बाद जाके बोलो निधि सो जा, मैं सो जाऊंगी.
Okay.
Okay, but there are people who take a cup of coffee at 4 and they're turning and tossing in the bed. So it has to do with how your body is metabolizing that caffeine or that tannin in the
Hmm.
tea. If your body is metabolizing it well, आप कॉफ़ी पी सकते हो और immediately सो सकते हो. If it's not metabolizing it, which means you're not able to get rid of it and your metabolism is slow, you will not fall asleep.
Understood.
So if it works for you, and if you want to enjoy a cup of coffee sometimes at 10 o'clock also is fine. If it doesn't work for you, post 4 or max post 6. Don't. Because it's not worth losing your sleep.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, nutrition that way cannot be a generic thing how social media has made it out to be. What works for you will not work for me.
So listen to your body.
Listen to your body. Just be very, very mindful because your food can be my poison and vice versa.
Hmm.
So try. Like I was talking to a patient this morning. She'd come to the clinic yesterday and she said, Doc, every time I take paneer, it's like an emergency kind of a situation for me. I am, breathless. I need to rush to the loo. I need to throw up. So we did an experiment with her. I said, on your way back, pick up a low fat milk and then make paneer at home. Have that for your dinner and call me tomorrow morning. She called me at 10:30. She said it's totally fine. So it's actually not the paneer which was causing, but the high fat content of the ready-made paneer that we get from
Wow.
malls.
Wow.
So it's a very individual thing.
Hmm.
It's not like a paracetamol की दुनिया में किसी को भी बुखार है, paracetamol will work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how food reacts. Like today, I may not get along with radish, and 2 years down the line, I may enjoy every single dish made out of radish. That's how your system works.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's like listening to your body is key, but I think actually
absolutely.
paying attention to it is hard. you know.
It's a matter of practice.
Hmm.
You need to, like how we say, your mind is like a monkey, keeps jumping around. So you need to be very, very mindful. And therefore, time and again, we say, don't sit with the gadget when you're eating. So, as a practice, I don't have a TV in my living area. Because if you have a TV in the living area, it becomes your dining area, it becomes your couch, it becomes your. So, when a guest come, we cannot talk because somebody or the other is watching TV,
Yeah.
right? And gradually you take your plate from the dining area and go and sit there on the couch and eat there. And therefore, as a principle, we've decided that we will never have a TV in the living area. And phones are not allowed. And I've literally done this experiment, okay? If you are watching something and eating, though your appetite is of 2 rotis, you can easily eat 3 without even realizing because your focus is not on the food.
Hmm.
And therefore, if you're eating mindfully over a period of time, doesn't take more than 3 months, trust me, it's just a matter of 3 months, then wherever you are, whatever the food may be, it could be your most favorite food, you will not overeat because you've tuned into the cues of your head.
Yeah, I think this data point that you said, it takes about 3 months.
Yes.
It's because it's not easy to train your mind to suddenly start paying attention to your food when you haven't
Yes,
for so long. I think
absolutely.
this is very very useful.
Yes. So
Um,
time and again you have to go back.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think one last one on caffeine seems like one of our favorite topics, but green tea and black coffee are supposed to be better than other forms of caffeine, other forms of consuming caffeine. Any views on that?
Green, red, oolong, purple, blue, hibiscus, chamomile, um, all kind of teas have their own benefits and pitfalls.
Hmm.
So, for example, a cup of hibiscus tea is amrit for a guy who has hypertension, but can create issues who already has low BP because it brings down your BP. The same thing with caffeine. Caffeine has a lot of good antioxidants. You overdo it, you gone. You have your masala chai, you do 2 cups a day, you will get all the benefits. Just because you feel green tea is good and you do 10 cups, no.
Hmm.
So, therefore, whatever you enjoy as a habit, keep it to 2 cups to max 3 cups a day. Because what happens, and that's how human psychology works, okay? I feel this is something which is healthy for me, and therefore my mind tells me, अब तो मैं ज़्यादा पी सकती हूँ या पी सकता हूँ, because it's healthy for me. So you can enjoy any form of chai, any form of coffee, caffeine, tannins, anything, 2 to 3 cups. Now there's this blue tea, pea flower, helps with weight loss. Okay, not directly but indirectly, only when you have your balanced diet in place. It's become a fad. लोग 10-10 कप पी रहे हैं thinking that they will lose weight. So abusing anything is not going to get anywhere. Caffeine and green tea both are good, and so is your masala chai,
Right.
and so is your milk tea.
So actually, you touched upon that at the end, right? But in caffeine, right? Uh, there's a school of thought which says like caffeine without milk gives you more antioxidant benefits versus with milk. Yeah.
Very controversial again,
Okay.
right? So yes, it's true to an extent, but milk उसके antioxidant खत्म नहीं कर देता है.
Mm.
Right? The other thing right now, which is, uh, making a news, is about milk causing inflammation. There's hormone and this and that. Again, अगर आपको मिल रहा है उसका substitute तो आप ले लो. Otherwise, आपकी milk coffee is good enough. आपके antioxidant milk नहीं खराब कर रहा है.
Mm. Okay.
So you're not losing out anything by adding milk. The thought behind that is that you're adding calories. That's the hidden thought. Okay, let me tell you this. So one is that you're adding calories. अगर आप black coffee पी रहे हो तो उसमें तो 2 calories हैं literally, तो आपको कुछ नहीं होगा. लेकिन अगर आपने slim milk भी डाला तो कम से कम 35 calories तो आएगी. So that's one thought. Second, that there is hormone and therefore there can be inflammation and all of that. Uh, Again, very, very individualistic. Also
Mm.
depends on the source of milk. Where is the milk coming from?
Got it. Got it.
But
Okay.
otherwise, it does not reduce the antioxidant. There is no mechanism
Mm.
that it can reduce the antioxidants of your caffeine.
So talking about the additives, right? Sugar is a common additive, right? And but now we hear so much about jaggery or honey being better than sugar, and I've come across personally a lot of people who also say, "Oh, ये तो jaggery है, ये तो honey है, it's sugar
मैं भी
free,"
सुनती हूँ.
right? I'm sure you hear more of it than I do. What?
Yeah. So, sugar, honey, jaggery, palm sugar, coconut sugar, whatever sugar under the umbrella of meethapan, uh, ballpark, 1 teaspoon is equal to 19 to 22 calories from calorie perspective.
Hmm.
ठीक है. अब जैगरी के लिए लोग कहते हैं कि उसमें आयन है, and therefore good to consume. Now, the amount of iron that you will get from 1 kilogram of jaggery, you can get it from one apple. लेकिन
Okay.
आप खुश होकर जैगरी खाए जा रहे हो क्योंकि मुझे आयन मिल रहा है बट कैलोरीज भी तो मिल रही है ना अननेसेसरी.
Mm.
सो व्हाट आई टेल देम, अगर आपको लगता है कि यू कैन नॉट हैव अ शुगर फ्री चाय, यू नो विदाउट शुगर, मतलब नॉट एडिंग द शुगर फ्री पिल, तो आप चीनी पी लो बिकॉज आपको पता है कि आप चीनी पी रहे हो एंड देयरफॉर यू विल नॉट ओवरडू इट. लेकिन आप सोच रहे हो कि जैगरी हेल्दी है इसलिए मैं एक बड़ा चमचा डाल लेता हूँ. सो कैलोरी परस्पेक्टिव द सेम. The micronutrients and the trace minerals like iron and all of that it gives you, it's in minuscule quantity.
So not really having much of an
Not
impact.
really. So आप honey में से कितने antioxidant निकाल दोगे? And honey is by the way the highest in terms of calories.
Mm. Yeah, this is something that people aren't aware of as
Yes. So
much.
therefore moderation. आप चीनी खा लो अगर आपको खाना है तो remember that your allowance in a day is 1 teaspoon. अब आप उसको कैसे भी कंज्यूम कर लो.
Yeah.
ये मत सोचो कि मैं जैगरी ले रहा हूँ तो मैं 5 चम्मच खा सकता हूँ. सो आई टेल देम अगर आपको जैगरी पसंद है तो खाओ बट ये सोच के मत खाओ कि वो हेल्दी है. दैट्स द होल साइंस बिहाइंड दैट.
No, makes sense. I have one last question. This is on a topic that we've already covered, so I just want to brief you on this. So we talked about protein, right?
Yes.
And we talked about protein supplements,
Yes.
right? Where a lot of protein supplements are being promoted today. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but there is, I mean, there is a group of people who are big promoters of it. There is
Yes.
also a traditional group of people who might be scared of it, right?
Yes.
Uh, what's a good balance for you towards, say, having a scoop of whey protein
Hmm.
daily, or whatever your recommendation may be? You
There
know.
is nothing wrong in having a scoop of whey protein or a plant based protein. Basically जो आपको खाने में मिलता है उसी को वो मिल्क में से स्प्रे ड्राई करके आपको वे के फॉर्म में दे दिया है. Now for example, if you are a vegan, obviously you will have protein deficiency and therefore it is wise that you have a, okay, if you don't want whey, plant based protein. Or if you have a very poor appetite, so then you can have a scoop of protein. If you think you, so for example, a lot of people who live in PGs and they don't get good food, for them it's totally fine. It's not that it's going to create any imbalance in your body. It is food in a different form.
Yeah.
So there's nothing bad about it, but protein supplements, if you see, I think max to max 20 years in the market. So, as of now, we don't know the long term implications. And therefore, I say it's always good to play safe.
Hmm.
If you are not able to meet your requirements through natural food, then look at that. Don't make it just a convenient thing or hep. You know that bro science, I also take protein.
Right.
Don't do that. If you think you really need it, go ahead and
Yeah.
use it. But otherwise, if you're a meat eater, 100 grams of meat, 25 grams of solid protein. And on an average, one person ends up eating about 150 grams of meat in one meal. Therefore, your about 37.5 grams of protein is secured in that way. If you're eating eggs, if you're eating dairy, you can meet your requirement. If not, go ahead and do that.
Got it. I think that's very good advice. Uh, we live in a world where we're bombarded with information, right?
Yes.
I mean, there's social media, there's WhatsApp University, there's
Yes.
there's there's all our friends and family, all kinds of information everywhere, right? And you're getting all kinds of contradictory information,
Yes.
contradictory, maybe half-baked science, like you said, bro science as well,
Yes.
right? Where we're not really sure. So it's really good to hear from you on this. But a question that I have is, as a result of all this information out there, right? There would be people following some of this half baked
Yes.
advice, right? Half baked science, which potentially aren't good practices for them. Uh, what are you seeing? And you see a lot of patients, right? What do you see as something that's impacting maybe our generation, maybe the next generation of consumers and people who are looking to be healthier, but because of this half baked information, they're having some challenges? I mean, love to get your views on that.
Sure. So I think Orange Lab there helps me. So people who don't even understand, the moment we do HSCRP, one of the inflammation markers, and they literally fall off their seats. The inflammation is so high that it's not even funny. And I'm talking about youngsters. And this is the group who's trying to be healthy, who's trying to eat healthy. So where are they going wrong? There is chronic inflammation. There is something fundamentally wrong. Unless you have a genetic disorder or an autoimmune disorder, it is only your lifestyle and food. So the food labels, which are misleading, right? The social media influencers, which are telling you half baked stuff, which are telling you people who don't have the knowledge and the authority are still dictating terms because they have some 100K followers or 200K followers, and people are listening to them. Now, for you to be healthy, you have to have diversity in your diet. But now what has happened is, okay, this is working for me, and therefore I go on. For a classic example could be keto, right? So you are almost on negligible carbs, you're on high fat, and you're on moderate protein. And the result? Liver failures, high inflammation. And keto, by the way, was a diet which is devised for people who have these disorders. And this, especially for kids, keto diet is supposed to be given under the supervision of a clinical nutritionist and a doctor in the hospital,
Wow.
where they're fed MCTs, like the coconut oil or the MCT fats that we get. And this is being abused for weight loss. And therefore, this half baked information is causing a lot of issues in youngsters. Because we are in a time where, there was this very cute and a very funny video from this guy, Pankaj Tripathi, where he said, भारत में लोग दो ही लोगों को आंख बंद करके पैसा दे सकते हैं, एक तो पंडित जो आपका भविष्य बताएगा और दूसरा जो आपको कहेगा मैं आपको पतला कर दूंगा. So it was so true that if I say आप ये खाने से पतले हो जाओगे, people would actually do it, and that is causing a lot of issue. So when people say, when people show before and after, I say please show before and after, because you were fat, then you became thin with whatever you did, which was a fad, and then it came back with a vengeance. Not only the weight but the metabolic disorders. People develop non-communicable diseases like diabetes, dyslipidemia, and therefore people have to be very, very careful with their raw ingredients, with cooked stuff. So for example, when people come and say what about fat, so you need to know that 500 ml per person per month is the allowance if you want to be healthy. अगर आपने वो exhaust कर दिया तो आप पानी में पकाओ अपना खाना. And this 500 includes your butter, your cheese, your oil, your ghee, everything. Visible fat. Because आपका invisible fat तो वैसे ही इतना सारा आ रहा है ना इतनी जगह से. So visible 500. वो खत्म हो गया तो पानी में पकाओ खाना if you want to be healthy. But then somebody in Andhra Pradesh says कि coconut oil तो बहुत ही अच्छा है, so people start drinking. And therefore that's an issue. So people have to first see who is the person giving you gyan, what is his capacity in terms of his educational qualification. If the person is actually qualified, go and read a research paper on that particular thing and then follow if you want to be healthy. Because social media is only going to go 10 layers up from there. So आज हमारे पास अगर 10,000 इन्फ्लुएंसर हैं, मेरे ख्याल से 1 लाख हो जाएंगे वो बहुत ही जल्दी. And there will be a lot of confusion. Therefore, if you want to be healthy, you need to do your homework and not listen to anybody. Or go to a person who can show you their degree that they have. So कभी कभी मुझे लगता है मैं पागल हूँ, मैंने 7 साल पढ़ाई करी, because now 2 महीने का कोर्स करके भी कोई बन जाता है न्यूट्रिशनिस्ट, 3 दिन का कोर्स करके भी बन जाते हैं. So that's the problem. And therefore one needs to sort of self-equip themselves. And which is why it is always important. I mean, though I know in India we still don't believe in this, but I still tell people, मत जाओ, आप कोई कहीं से पैकेज मत लो पतले होने का, मोटे होने का, कुछ मत करो, but at least go take one consultation with a nutrition professional, with a lifestyle coach who's a qualified guy. Therefore, you know what you're doing and what will work for you.
Hmm.
एटलीस्ट अगर आपका बेसिक पता चल गया ना आपको राइट सोर्स से, then you will not make those mistakes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is something that everybody has to do if they want to be healthy now and in future generation. I think nutrition should also become a subject in schools.
That's a very good point. I
Yeah,
100%
because
agree
people
with
don't
that.
understand. You go to, so we have in our apartment complex, we have a big basket. And look at the strategy. So their chocolates, their chips are always next to the बिलिंग काउंटर्स, बिकॉज वहाँ जब तक आप क्यू में खड़े हैं ना यू विल गेट टेम्प्टेड, कुछ नहीं तो वो टिक टैक ले लो, एक चॉकलेट ले लो. सो ओनली व्हेन यू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज इट गोइंग टू डू टू यू विल यू बी, you know, little mindful, because kids cannot think that way unless they're told about it. कभी कभी मेरे बच्चे भी छुपा के खा लेते हैं और रैपर भी बाहर ही फेंक आते हैं. So people needs to be told about all this.
I imagine it's tough having a nutritionist as a mom.
They call themselves the most deprived children. Yeah.
Yeah. So you touched upon keto. Um, wha- what's your view on intermittent fasting?
It does bring benefits on the table.
Hmm.
Okay. It can improve your insulin sensitivity. It can cause weight loss. However, two things. One, on the name of IF, people say मैं बस 8 घंटे में खा सकता हूँ and therefore कल हो ना हो अब मैं 8 घंटे में सब कुछ खा लूँ. Does not work like that, because the basic science is input is equal to output is weight maintained. Input more than output is your weight gain. Input less than output, sorry, input more than output is weight loss. Input less than output is weight gain. So आपका वो बेसिक
Like
फंडा तो
simple
वही रहा,
maths.
राइट?
Yeah.
सो आप ये मत सोचो कि बिकॉज आप 8 घंटे की विंडो में खा रहे हो तो आप कुछ भी खा सकते हो. नंबर वन. नंबर टू, इट्स अ लाइफ स्टाइल. Whoever has done it as a dieting strategy, it has fallen flat on their face, including a lot of my clients who've had an IF failure and then come here. So if you've ever seen a Jain family, their last meal is at sunset, and then their next meal is at sunrise. And that holds true whether there's a function or a weekend or a new year or a birthday or a shadi. It is their lifestyle. अब लोगों को कैसा आईएफ चाहिए, मंडे टू थर्सडे तो कर लिया बॉस लेकिन फ्राइडे टू संडे नहीं होगा. योर बॉडी डज नॉट अंडरस्टैंड ऑल दिस, right? So if you're doing something, you have to do it like on a long term basis.
So anyone who's doing IF should continue to do it like
Like a
all days of the
lifestyle.
week, or
Yes, all days
okay,
of
you
the week.
can't turn it off, is what you're saying.
So वो वाला जो दूसरा, all these are fads. 5:2. आपने 5 days खाया, फिर 2 दिन एक्सट्रीम डाइट कर लिया, या आपने 5 days बहुत कम खाया तो आपका वीकेंड सेफ हो गया. ऑल दैट बॉडी डज नॉट अंडरस्टैंड.
The
यू
body
कंफ्यूजिंग
seeks
योर ओन
predictability,
सिस्टम.
is what you're saying.
Correct. So you have to follow whether it is a balanced diet or an IF, uh, or fasting has to be done as a practice. Otherwise, it does not. It definitely does not work as a weight loss strategy. It is going to cause more confusion in your body. But if it's done in the right manner on a long term basis, you can prevent and manage your diabetes very well with it, because
Got
it makes your body insulin sensitive.
Okay. Any set of folks who shouldn't do IF, like maybe people whose blood control they're not whose blood sugar levels they're not able to manage and things like
Yes.
that.
So I would always advise everyone, whether you want to do an IF or a keto or a paleo or a vegan, whatever you want to do, it's always a good idea, one, to get your blood work done and then go with that blood work to a doctor or to a nutritionist saying, this is the condition. What am I in for? What can I do and what can I not do?
Understood. Understood.
Because, let's say if you start doing IF and generally your sugar levels are lower, you will get into hypoglycemia.
Mm.
So you need to consult a professional before you get into any kind of diets.
So like blood work being like a general health checkup
Yes, your
that
general.
covers all your sort of
Yes, like a
body's
basic panel of
systems.
your CBC of your diabetes level, HbA1c, which gives you a 3 month ka parameter, your lipid profile, which tells you your cholesterol issues, your iron levels,
Mm,
your liver functioning, your kidney functioning, because a lot of times uric acid comes as a surprise to people, right? So if you have that basic blood work, go ahead, visit a professional, and then decide what is it that you want to do.
right. This is a very relevant topic right now. We're almost ending the year, and with the beginning of the year starts like health resolution, right? Everyone
Yes,
sets up goals and resolutions, and health is now one big part of it, right?
right.
So what you're suggesting is that before you start any health journey, get a basic blood work done, show it to a professional, get some input, so that like whatever you do is actually beneficial to you.
Correct. And it should not backfire. And
Mm,
otherwise, also, it's a good idea to do if you don't have any issues, even then once a year. And if you have any metabolic disorders or any disease, then twice a year.
got
That's
it.
a must.
Got it. Got it.
Like how we go end of season sale, वैसे ही blood work भी करना है. So
I
that's
think that's
one,
very good advice.
yeah, that's one of the must thing that everybody should do.
Mm, agreed. Agreed.
Yeah.
So before we started talking, actually, you were telling me a little bit about how you're seeing weight loss as a big thing. Weight loss, nutrition deficiencies is the big thing among children and underage adults.
Right.
Would love to hear your views on that.
So what's happened is we've started using food as reward, right? So my child finishes homework on time or gets good marks, then he gets a pizza or a pack of Maggie. Or sometimes when the parents are busy, they compensate by giving them things that they would enjoy, irrespective of whether it's healthy or not. So, one part is that. Second, the kids of today's generation only do fingers exercise, right? There's no physical exercise. You don't, I don't see kids, especially, post 10 or post 8, going down on their own.
Hmm.
They just glued to this, what, free fire, something, something, some game or the other. And so this is a deadly combination. One, you're giving them hyper palatable food, which is a deadly combination of salt, sugar, and fat. You know this ad of Ruffle Lays, no one can eat just one? It's actually true.
Hmm.
Because you eat one, it regulates and, triggers those circuits, and you want the second one, and the third one, and the fourth one. So this is what happens, right? You give do biscuit, nahi hoga. So you end up giving the whole pack of biscuits. Unhealthy food plus no physical exercise is a deadly combination of non-communicable diseases at the age of 10 and 12. I am not kidding. I'm
Really,
seeing kids of this age with a HbA1c of 14, 13, 11. And then
children.
mothers, yes,
Wow.
and then they are willing to see me in heaven also. अगर मैं वहां हूं ना तो वो कहेंगे हम वहां भी आ रहे हैं, अब तो मिलना ही मिलना है. So I say, hold on, it's a Saturday, my slots are full. No, no, doctor, somehow you give me 10 minutes. Okay, what happened? We just got a blood work done, levels are this. And why? Because either both the parents are working and they're busy, so the child gets to eat whatever they want to eat. Number one. Number two, pocket monies are being given and not accounted for. And the child eats whatever they want to eat. नीचे जाते हैं तो वो पेट भर के ही ऊपर आते हैं फिर. So these are, I would say, we as parents need to be extremely careful. In fact, I reached out to my kids' school saying, ये क्या है आपका cafeteria? You're serving things that we say don't give to kids. So the school cafeterias need to work, the parents need to work, and the physical education needs to be made like a mandatory thing. Some schools physical education period हुआ ठीक है बच्चे जो कर रहे हैं वो कर रहे हैं. You got to do something physical there. So if that happens, you will see a healthier, younger population. Right now, we're going through crisis. I don't know how much of it can you really relate to, because I see kids with this, my heart cries. Young
Absolutely.
kids of my kids' age would come to me with dyslipidemia,
What is dyslipidemia?
high cholesterol, high triglycerides. high bad cholesterol, which is LDL.
Wow. Okay.
And why is it happening? Because of, I know somebody is going to sue me someday, Zomato, Swiggy, even the kids have on their phones.
Mainly because of access, easy access to
Easy
food.
access, easy disposable income.
Hmm.
Did our parents give us money like this? I still remember I would just get once in a week, I would get money to eat whatever I wanted to. Even then, it will not be so bad. Today, the child can have a lunch at KFC and then have a shawarma roll in the evening and then cook a pack of Maggie in the night. And when I ask them, when I do a dietary recall, it would be rare for me to see that the kids are actually eating fruits also. And it's not the child to be blamed. It's really not the child to be blamed. Always remember, out of sight is out of mind. अगर आप घर पे गंदगी रखोगे नहीं तो बच्चा कहाँ से खाएगा?
Hmm.
You keep fruits. I tell them, please put nuts and seeds and dry fruits in glass jars so that they're visible. And the Indian mentality is because वो महंगा वाला है ना उसको सबसे अंदर कबर्ड में जाके रख दो और वो वहीं खराब हो जाना है. So place them on the dining table. When the child or anybody for that matter is hungry, they will eat whatever comes in front of their eyes.
Hmm.
Now, if he sees almonds there or walnuts there or some raisins there or some berries there, the child will eat that. लेकिन आप क्या रखोगे? आप रखोगे पार्ले जी, हाइड एंड सीक, ओरियोस, तो बच्चा वही खाएगा ना फिर. So that's why it's a very scary situation. The diseases that we used to see 40 plus, we're seeing 14 plus.
Wow. That is
It's very scary.
that's extremely worrisome.
Yes.
How are these even getting detected among 14, 15-year-olds? It's not like they're going getting blood tests. Like
Yes.
what's going on here?
So, a few symptoms that parents have come back to me. One, the child experiences a burning sensation while urinating. The child is not able to focus. The child is very cranky and putting on weight. Also, they're not able to poop. So, all your biscuits and your Maggies and everything is made up of maida,
Hmm.
which is minus fiber, not even zero, right? And that causes a massive constipation. And that happens, your gut health is gone, you're putting on weight, you're not able to get up, you have a bad breath. These are the symptoms that parents come back
Okay.
with.
Okay.
And then when they go to a doctor, uh, and also these deficiencies are leading to a lot of eyesight issues. Then when they go, the doctor asks them for a blood test and box opens up.
Got it. Is there any correlation with weight among and NCDs among these
Yes,
children that you're
children,
seeing?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, NCD and obesity has a very strong connection, and age has nothing to do. It can be a 10-year-old child and a 65-year-old man or a woman. It's exactly the same way it's going to work because the moment you have fat deposition, you're going to become insulin resistant, and therefore you will have thyroid mismanagement, you will have dyslipidemia, you will have hormonal imbalance where young girls have menstruation issues, boys have belly fat or overall body fat issues. They will have hair fall. So all of that will start happening.
Okay.
I have 17-year-old boy coming to me with hair fall as bad as alopecia or balding because the serum ferritin levels were 6, the lowest I've ever seen. And why? Because the child does not eat properly. सब्जी तो उसे खुद को भी याद नहीं उसने कब खाई थी.
Yeah.
So it's only the rajma and the chana and aloo. मतलब वो यहाँ पे मेरे को भी fix हो गया है because somebody just eats 3 things, rajma, chana and aloo. So when you become such a picky eater or when you don't eat homemade food, you'll end up with these things.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Challenges for
Oh yes.
parents to
Tell me about it.
manage.
I have 2 of them. Yeah. And both teenagers.
Yeah.
So it's difficult.
Yeah, no, I think it's very good advice, right? Like one is homemade food,
Yes.
balanced food, keeping more healthier things at home. So, whenever you have that craving, you'll end up just having reasonably healthy options.
Correct.
And What about exercise? Like, how do you like among children? How do you build a habit of exercise? You
So one is get into a habit of sending them down, where they're playing something. Sports is a very good option.
Mm,
So for example, my elder one plays basketball and my younger one is massively into cricket. So when
sports, I agree.
yes,
Yeah.
when they play a sport, there is a warm up, there is a cool down. They are physically active while they're playing. So at least 60 minutes per day.
Mm,
And kids, and this was the discussion that I had with my younger one's class teacher. When the kids are playing a sport, one, they become competitive in nature. Two, their focus improves. And these are the kids who then understand the importance of good muscles, good body. And therefore, when they go into colleges and stuff, they are going for exercise on their own.
mm,
So you have to, and now, I mean, when we were growing up, we didn't have such opportunities, but now you have classes for everything, starting from karate to football coaching to cricket coaching. So I think people should, if your child is generally not inclined, you should enroll your child for a class.
word, word. One thing that we've tried to do with our kids is actually get them to read food labels, right?
That's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Where just sort of making them aware. But on that topic, I've recently come across information
Hmm.
where uh, there are folks who are claiming that even food labels aren't accurate. What do you see
Because
on
there
this?
is a discrepancy allowance. The bodies have allowed a certain percentage of discrepancy is
Okay.
acceptable. Now, that discrepancy, when it goes out of the limit, it comes to light very late.
Mm,
So, there are times when it's not right. But if your basic things are correct, So, always remember the first ingredient is the max.
yeah.
So if it says sugar or dextrose or anything ending with OSE or OL, it means sugar.
Okay.
Sugar can be written in more than 600 names, which I only won't remember. So forget people who've not studied nutrition. So
Mm,
remember anything with sugar or OSC or OL is sugar. So if that's on number one, it's a good big no for you. If it's refined wheat, if it's any kind of palm oil, this oil, that oil, sunflower oil. So read the first four ingredients. If they are featuring this, and the fifth most dangerous one is HFCS, high fructose corn syrup. If that's there, then you tell your child this is not good for you. बिकॉज बाद में जो वो छोटे 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 आते हैं एक तो आपको समझ ही नहीं आएगा उसने लिख
yeah.
दिया E365. Who knows what E365 means? So these are those chemical stabilizers, preservatives that people use, and you write these numbers. But अगर आपने पहले चार ingredient पढ़ लिए and they're not good, they're not good.
Mm,
Period.
yeah. Yeah.
So read just that simple thing.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing that's now becoming quite common in India is we're seeing a lot of lactose intolerance, and uh, gluten intolerance,
Yes.
right? This was not a thing that we experienced or we heard about, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Uh, what is this a real thing? What's causing this? What what are you seeing?
Okay. So two things: gluten intolerance, which is a disease called celiac disease,
Mm,
and then there is gluten sensitivity, where you would have mild symptoms, but you're still able to sort of eat it. Okay. Now, in 1960, there was a green revolution where to feed the countless mouth, they changed the DNA of the wheat itself. And therefore, the percentage of gluten increased. And so, when, earlier days, the whole wheat roti, the gehu ka roti made at home, was not so pretty, was not so whitish like the way it is today. And therefore, the issue. So, gluten does cause inflammation. And therefore, if you see, I'm not sure if you've heard about this khapli atta.
no,
So,
not
this
yet.
is another variant of wheat, um, very expensive, 220 to 250 rupees a kilo. Not
Okay.
everybody can afford it. We have to
Hmm.
also look at sustainability, affordability,
Absolutely.
right? So people who can afford it, they do eat khapli atta or they do eat millet. So gluten sensitivity is a real thing. Gluten intolerance is a disease where your body reacts to it. You will start throwing up, you will develop rashes.
Hmm.
That needs to be treated completely differently. Gluten sensitivity, if you feel that you're, let's say, feeling bloated or nauseous or your bowel movement is not proper, you stop it for 21 days and see how you feel and then reintroduce. Sometimes your body heals, like when you have a fracture, what does the doctor do? दे पुट अ कास्ट. उन्होंने और कुछ नहीं करा है, सिर्फ इमोबिलाइज किया है एंड द बॉडी हील्स इटसेल्फ.
Hmm.
And the same phenomena that you completely eliminate it for 21 days, allow the body to heal itself if there is inflammation. And then when you reintroduce, the body responds positively. So that's one way to figure out if you are gluten sensitive or gluten intolerant. Now coming to lactose intolerance. For breaking down the lactose, you need an enzyme called lactase. Over a period of time, generally, if you would have heard, like, let's say out of 100% population, सिर्फ 20-30% लोग होते हैं बच्चों से लेके और बूढ़े तक जिनको दूध पसंद होता है पर से.
Hmm. Okay.
पीपल नीड समथिंग, किसी को बोर्नवीटा चाहिए, किसी को चॉकलेट चाहिए, किसी को कुछ चाहिए टू बी एबल टू drink milk, and therefore people avoid drinking milk. Now when you don't consume milk and milk products, the body stops producing that enzyme. And therefore, when you consume milk and milk products after a long time, you have this bloating and those issues. So if there are two ways to deal with it, one is आप थोड़ा 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 खाते रहिए so that आपका enzyme वापस produce होने लगेगा. In extreme cases, people are put on lactase supplement. And then there are certain cases where they just cannot tolerate. So आपको बहुत variety मिलेगी. Some people cannot tolerate milk, but they can have dahi, they can have paneer. Some people cannot have anything.
Hmm.
Some people say हम सिर्फ प्योर मिल्क नहीं पी सकते, हम कॉफ़ी पी सकते हैं, हम चाय पी सकते हैं. So again, very individualistic thing, and you need to see what works with individual cases and then work accordingly. But these are real things. But there are people who are just presuming that they would have this.
Hmm.
That's also not right. So अगर आपको सही में है, and if you're having the symptoms, again go and consult. Don't experiment on yourself. This is your body.
Yeah.
So don't experiment on yourself. अगर आपको सच में ही लग रहा है, you could be right, you could be wrong. So एक बार आप consult ही कर लो.
Fair.
Gastro से ही मिल लो एक बारी, and you would know the reality.
I'll tell you this. I learned a lot today. So,
I'm so glad.
thank
I'm
you.
so glad.
Thank you. Really appreciate this.
Thank you so
Right.
much.
Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. If you like it, comment, subscribe, tell your friends about it. And if there are any topics that you want us to cover, just add it in the comments and we'll make sure we'll cover them in the future.